Let's talk about Daniel Blair. All right, so I may be biased because I've been a fan of Daniel forever. Like 2004, I just remember this privateer kid. He wore LBZ gear and a studded belt, which I thought was pretty cool. And he stood out from the crowd, which I liked. He wasn't corporate. He rode a Yamaha, which I had a Yamaha too. So, sometimes you like people who ride what you ride. He looked like Jeremy McGrath and kind of like had his style. So I think maybe that was part of it too. For whatever reason, I started following and latching on to Daniel Blair back in 2004. 2003 or 2004? Had to have been 2004. Okay, so 2004, I'm at the Salt Lake City Supercross and I see Daniel and it looks like his dad. I think he's there with his dad and they're pitted like as if they're at a normal local race, right? They've got, I think, a small van or a small truck and he's got his bike there and I see his YZ250 with the 125 on there. So I knew it was him. I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, this thing is clapped. I didn't have a lot of experience being up close and personal with Supercross bikes. When you saw Daniel's bike up close, I assumed that all Supercross bikes were dialed. I assumed they were all, factory, new plastic, looked good. Daniel's bike looked thrashed. Like Yamaha, the blue plastic, when it gets old or bent, it turns white. Graphics thrashed. Plastic, trash. I was like, dude, are they gonna let you on the track? Will they even let this piece of crap on the track? Anyway, so the next few years I was following Daniel's career, both in Supercross and Arena Cross, followed him online. He was a good follow, funny, entertaining, personable content. And then he started his podcast, the Main Event Moto Podcast. And I remember listening to episode 1. I listened from the beginning, the very first episode. It was really good content. And it was small back then. It was super small. And you could tweet. You just send him a tweet and ask him a question and he would reply on the podcast. But it was cool because it was moto, but it was also music. It was just travel stories. And Evan was a little kid back then. I don't know if he was on 50s or whatever, but I do remember him talking about being a moto dad, trying to motivate Evan on the track with Legos, and as well as just having someone like goals each week, like going to the track. And I remember him saying like white bike, okay, this week your goal is to beat white bike. You finished right behind white bike last time. This week, try to beat white bike, or maybe it was white helmet, I can't remember. But I remember just being a little bit inspired by that because I wanted to do that same thing, but on YouTube, have a similar type thing where every week, this is the goal, this is what we're working on, and vlogging races, which was kind of a new thing back then. I don't know if anyone else was doing it, but that kind of inspired me back then. So I've always enjoyed Daniel, but then I remember when he was talking about trying out for Arena Cross, announcing Arena Cross, and then moving his way up to Supercross. And I was pumped on that. I knew he would do awesome. I knew he would do a good job. Maybe he didn't have the credentials, the race pedigree, he didn't have the experience, but I mean, he was doing podcasts, he was doing music, being on stage. I knew he was gonna be good at it, and he was.
Mathematically, he was there at that point.
But I am such a...
Yeah, Daniel's right! Woo! Right? Rock on, man.
Yeah, Daniel.
I don't know if you like that. If you listen to his podcast, you would see how much this meant to him. He was working so hard.
Even surveyed my Main Event Moto podcast fans and wanted to know what they wanted, and they answered big time. I built my entire commentary around them and the fans.
Every week he would come back to the podcast, he would analyze how he did, he'd ask the listeners what he could have done better, and then he would talk about what he's gonna work on, what he's gonna try to do better for next week. He was taking it really serious. And as a fan, I really appreciated that. You only have so many Supercross races to enjoy every year. It's once a week, half the year. So you go the whole week, you're looking forward to it. Especially January, February, you're looking forward to the race. And then when the broadcasters suck, it's like you're watching the show with someone who's annoying and who doesn't know what they're talking about, and they just keep saying stupid stuff. Nobody wants to watch anything like that. Yeah, so to me, like, Cameron Steele was awesome. I know it's a long time ago, it was like 20 years ago. Cameron Steele represented the sport well, had energy, was well-spoken. He was happy to be there. He seemed like one of the racers. And he just seemed like someone that you would want to hang out with and watch a race with. So Cameron Steele, Denny Stevenson killed it. The guy had so many great thoughts, so many great opinions. He had experience racing as well as was well-spoken on a mic. Jeff Emig, to me, was fine. He was good. Nothing bad to say about Jeff Emig. Ricky Carmichael, to me, he's not good. He's not good in the booth. At least not as like a lead commentator. And that's not a knock on him. Like, I'm sure he's good at other things. He could do a great job designing tracks, training athletes. He could get a segment. Like, Ricky could have a segment like Jeremy McGrath with the Science of Supercross. He could have like a fitness segment where every week he goes and sees another rider, talks to them about training, what are they doing, what works for them. Like, there's other things Ricky could do other than be in the booth, and I wouldn't be good either. Like, broadcasting is not easy. Live television, a camera on you, a microphone in your face, thinking on the spot, it's not easy. I suck at it. Like, if I try to do a live video, if I try to watch back one of my old live videos on YouTube, train wreck. Can't even watch it. Like, I'm horrible. I suck at it. Helps when I can edit, you know? All right, so I'm hopping in my truck so that way I could charge my phone. This is taking a little longer than I was hoping. Sorry about the mess. Okay, so like 2 years ago, there were all these comments, like people were saying like, put Daniel in the booth, Daniel's better than Ricky, and they were right. Those comments were right.
The comments were very positive for me, really positive, and terrible for RC.
And Ricky was pissed. He wasn't happy that the fans liked Daniel more than him. It's not like Ricky was worried about the sport, what the fans wanted, or growing the sport. So anyways, Daniel retired and quit last year, and he didn't really say why, but then he just made a post like a few days ago to kind of like open up and explain what happened, why he actually ended the Supercross announcing career. Basically, he was ran off by Ricky and by Lee Diffey. Okay, Lee, gosh, dude, like this guy annoys the hell out of me. He's not really familiar with the sport. His sayings are like outdated. He says like spectacular motorbike. Actually, I got blocked from him. It's been funny because like when this happened, everybody went and made a bunch of comments on Lee Diffey's Instagram.
Oh no, there's another one, get down.
I did too, and I got blocked, even though mine weren't that bad. Okay, so this is what I put. I commented, I said, here are some Lee Diffey quotes. He's leading and leading well. He's doing it in fine form. It's a spectacular performance on his motorbike. Okay, I quoted you, but I got blocked. I always thought, I was like, okay, Lee Diffey, I'm sure he's a good guy. I'm sure he probably throws a good barbecue. His neighbors probably never have to complain about his lawn, but that doesn't mean I want to watch Supercross with him. Like, he's probably a good guy, but he should be calling cricket or badminton or water polo, curling, like something like that. He doesn't say Supercross to me. He doesn't feel like he represents Supercross. He doesn't look like Supercross. He definitely doesn't sound like Supercross. But I was wrong. I was wrong about the part about him being a good guy. So Daniel made this video and he talked about what he got ran off. And it started from the beginning. The very beginning when he got hired, he complimented another announcer in front of Lee.
I complimented Todd Harris and I said he was one of my favorite broadcasters, and I offended Lee.
And that pissed Lee off. And Lee had someone reach out to Daniel to tell him to apologize, demand him to apologize.
The next day, I get a call from Mr. Decision Maker who chewed my ass, and he said, call Lee and clean it up. I couldn't believe it.
Okay, I have never asked someone to apologize, and I sure as hell have not asked someone to go ask them to apologize to me. That's a bitch move. As a man, you don't ever ask someone to apologize or care if they apologize, okay? We'll call that a diffy. Don't ever diffy it, kids. Don't ever do a diffy.
I called Lee right away, and he chewed my ass too. Said, don't compare broadcasters, which I wasn't.
So Daniel got chewed out, and Daniel had to apologize to Lee Diffey for that. The thing that sucks too is that Daniel had a business. He sold the business in order to do Supercross, and then they ended up like giving him part-time. He didn't even get to do it full-time. He got to fill in, which is lame, which sucks. Like when you're trying to provide for a family, you think you have a job, you're offered a job, and then they like take it back on you.
I thought that I had the booth full-time, and they said I was their guy. They called me the voice of Supercross.
And then the next thing thing was Arlington 2 years ago. Daniel is doing a track report. Ricky Carmichael is doing a VIP tour. Ricky Carmichael comes up to him.
Trying to do a VIP tour. You mind getting out of here?
And starts like making jabs at him.
Hi everybody, Ricky Carmichael.
You're the chosen one. You're the fans' favorite toy here. So,
But he made 2 bad jokes, and he called me the fans' toy. I care about the fans. They meant everything to me.
Ricky knows. He obviously knows that the fans like him more, so he's like bitter about it. He's giving Daniel a hard time about it.
but
Toy?
you're
Like a spin master toy?
Yeah, a spin master toy. You're the favorite toy of the fans.
At first, I thought he was joking. At first, I thought Ricky was just bad at jokes, but it turns out that he actually was mad, and he actually was bitter, and he was trying to put Daniel on the spot.
For tomorrow.
Specifically tell them to do is go watch some old video of Daniel Blair.
Daniel handled it perfectly. When Ricky was mentioning about how you want to learn how to ride Supercross, go back and watch tapes of Daniel, and then that's what you don't do.
And whatever he does, you want to do the exact opposite. So that's what I start with.
Daniel like nodded and agreed with him. Like Daniel handled it very well.
I tried to soften it up. I played back. I made the boat joke.
Was it in this
I'm tired of talking
was it
to
this
you.
stadium that you hit the boat? Or was that other stadium?
Almost hit the boat. Get your facts right.
And then he gave it back to him a little bit. He's like, isn't this where you hit the boat? It's not a big insult, but it was just a little bit like, so to make it less awkward, make it more of a back and forth. Daniel handled this interaction perfectly.
Tell me where I can go where I won't interfere with your tour.
How about like out in the parking lot? Let's start there.
The Ricky Carmichael Comedy Tour continues, folks, next Tuesday night at the local bar.
And then Ricky brings up, like, don't you have other jobs to do?
Don't you have another gig you got to go to?
Which is kind of like a dick move. Like, if you know anything about Daniel, he's doing a lot of side hustles, or he was racing. He had a cab company. He had the Eagle Grit company. He was doing lots of other things in order to be able to still do Supercross. So it's kind of messed up to point out that someone has to do multiple jobs when you're Ricky Carmichael.
If you would stop talking to me, I could get to my next obligation. Popcorn machine needs a refill.
Okay. All right. Well, go get your popcorn.
Again, Daniel handled it really well, and he made a joke about himself. The other thing that he mentioned in the video is he said that there was a time when Daniel asked Ricky a question, but he didn't word it the same way.
RC's opener on camera was terrible, and I noticed right away how pissed he was.
I think they had like the question lined out or in rehearsal, and then Daniel kind of like asked it in a different way, which threw Ricky off.
I had a 0% clue that he was mad at me.
And again, Daniel was reprimanded and had to apologize.
I got a call from a guy at NBC that I needed to be precise with my question, not to change it up. And I had never had to do that before with anyone. I'm not a robot. I asked the question a different way from rehearsals. The same question, just different flow. That's how I've done it every single time with every single person ever.
Or explain for that. But hey, dude, like if you're on live TV, you have to be able to think on your feet, and you have to be able to answer questions as they come. For instance, like another person that I think is really good is Jason Wygant. Dude is so knowledgeable and so articulate and so good about explaining things. And he's super good on his feet. If you ever watch him on YouTube, he'll do like a YouTube video where he just walks around with a GoPro, no editing, and he's just spitting off constant facts. Like he knows what he wants to say, and he'll do like a 10 or 15 minute video, no notes, just off of memory, no cuts, no ahs, no ums. He's a machine. He's really good. And we saw him in Dade City, and I go up and I ask him if I can get a clip with him.
Weege, I'm actually a really big fan of your podcast intro song. Yeah, it really is the best.
And like as a courtesy, I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you want me to just tell you, give you a heads up? You want a second to think about it? He's like, no, just ask me to roll with it. So I just throw this question at him, boom, great answer, and then he expands upon it and then goes into like a conversation mode.
It's big enough where a lot's going on around the country, around the world, but it's not so big that everybody doesn't end up bumping into each other and being lifelong friends.
Awesome, and that's what's so frustrating is we've got talented guys in our industry that can be making great programs, great broadcasts every single week. But instead, we've got Lee Diffey and we've got Ricky. And I know like TV broadcast companies are super political. It's just a shame though that they don't do what the fans want. They don't do what is best for the sport. They do what they want. And I think that was when Daniel was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm out of here. I can't deal with this anymore. And which was sad. Like as a fan, I felt like, okay, we're losing one of the best parts of our favorite thing. But Daniel never explained the whole story. He never shared what happened because he thought it would be bad for the sport to cause any drama. Until last week at Daytona. Okay, get this, guys. Daniel gets a call. He says, hey, do you want to come down to Daytona, be on Race Day Live as a guest and promote your new company, which is a coaching company for families trying to make their way through the amateur scene in motocross.
Look, I was invited to be a guest and I was hesitant at first. I had a yucky feeling, 45 minutes away, and I'm about to drive over.
He drives down from, I think, North Carolina to Daytona, gets there, and then is told, hey, you get 3 minutes. That's all you get is 3 minutes. And he's like, no, I can't come on, pitch my product. I'll sound like a salesman. I'm not gonna do that. Like, why can't I sit through a segment like a normal guest?
Just 3 minutes? Do I get to call a practice? And she says, no commentary, not allowed to do commentary. And he acts like it's a good idea. He created this segment for me, 3 minutes, maybe 4, and tried to convince me it was a good thing. And I questioned the strategy. I said, this is not good for the fans. This is not good for Justin and Adam. They'll get killed for this. This is terrible for me. I mean, what a slap across the face to the fans. What the hell? I'm not pitching the fans a product in 3 minutes and bouncing.
And he's basically told that Ricky and or Lee Diffey don't want you commentating. You have 3 minutes in between a practice. He couldn't even commentate. He couldn't even call a practice. He couldn't even commentate during a practice.
And it was his call. There would be no commentary. I told him there's no way I'm doing that. I can't, at a minimum, hang with my buddies and talk Supercross. I was not going to do it. And he said he'd give me the 3 minutes. And I told him, no, thank you.
That's how bitter, petty. Either they're worried about him taking their jobs or they're just dicks being petty about it. Okay, so Daniel was like, you know what? I'm done. I don't think so. I'm not coming on. But what he is gonna do is he's gonna be truthful with the fans. He's gonna make a video and he's gonna share his whole story dealing with NBC, Ricky, and Lee Diffey. That video, The Truth, Main Event Moto, it's got 172,000 views in 2 days. What's been awesome is seeing the outcry of support for Daniel online, but also just the disgust for Lee Diffey, Ricky Carmichael, and anyone associated with him. Like I said, I checked Lee Diffey's Instagram. It got flooded with comments. I got blocked. But if you go to Octane, who I think is the company that Lee Diffey works for. So if you look at them, they have a post of Lee Diffey. The comments got disabled. All the comments on Lee Diffey's, anything with Lee Diffey, comments have been disabled. Triumph. I mean, here's a post talking about Jordan Smith being injured. Look at all these people are like, I'm not buying a Triumph now because of Ricky. Was going to buy a TC450 next year, but since Ricky Carmichael is part of your program, I'm out. You guys might want to find a better brand ambassador. A lot of these comments have to be censored from Instagram. For me, the best part, living in 2025, is just the memes and the posts, the reactions.
Do you think I got where I am today because I dress like Peter Pan here? Do you think anybody thinks I'm a failure because I go home to Starlight Night?
It's been a fun couple of days. It's been awesome.
Our baby was born mentally retarded.
It's been fun getting on Instagram and seeing what people come up with Ricky and Lee Diffey.
Quite muddy and icy, as you can see.
I applaud you guys. Some people have time on their hands, a little bit of talent, a little bit of passion.
I think it's important to treat people how you want to be treated.
And they're making the world a better place. So thank you to everyone doing the Lord's work.
I don't want you here, and I don't want you here.
Making some Daniel Blair, Ricky Carmichael, and Lee Diffey memes.
It's very sad to see two of my favorites, Ricky Carmichael and Daniel Blair, tremendous talent, having a little spat. I'd love to bring them to the Oval Office, sort it out, but only when they're ready for peace. Diffey, not invited, sits down to pee. He'll be calling curling and figure skating only.
It's been great, much appreciated. I don't agree with the hate, throwing hate, being a dick for no reason, but I mean, you gotta understand, Rick Johnson got involved. He made a post.
we need to think about what we say before we say it.
He was basically saying, hey everyone, like, it's not an easy job. Don't be that guy. Keyboard warriors. Don't be trash talking other people online. What did he say? Oh, mob mentality. My rant on the motocross mob mentality. Yeah, which does happen, but I don't think that's what this is. I don't think people are hating. Maybe some are, but I don't think people are like trolling just to troll. That's not what's happening. That's not what we're seeing. What we're seeing, a movement of the community that's had enough. I think people are tired of just these not very good commentators being there ruining what they look forward to every week. They're ruining the race, which would be fine if that's the best that we had. If that's the only option, okay. But the fact that there are people that are better, that know the sport, they know how to talk about the sport, they know how to make things interesting, are good at their job, and they want to be there, they want to be in the booth, that's what's frustrating. It's frustrating as a fan who loves this sport, and it's like a big part of what we enjoy and what we look forward to every week. Other than that, like, I don't know. I don't know what else to do other than commenting online, or like, what are you gonna do? Send an email? Like, or we could chant. Like, everybody when you go to Supercross, chant DB forever. You know, like how they did at college games for Joe Biden a few years ago? Like, do we do that? F Lee Diffey? Is that what it's gonna take? Is that what we have to do?